Hey y'all, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am hopefully coming to you with a weekly reading vlog. I have started so many in recent weeks and then never updated them because I just haven't been reading. I haven't read anything in 2 weeks at this point, but it is a Monday. It feels like a really good time to start a weekly reading vlog, and I did actually start a book yesterday that I'm about halfway through. But before we get into that, I'm still reading Momo by Ende. This is never ending. And I know it's because I keep it in my bag. I keep it in my bag to read outside the house and to kind of read on my lunch break, which hasn't been happening. In recent weeks, I just watch YouTube videos for an hour on my lunch break. But I keep this there in the hopes that I will eventually pick it up. And this week, we're going to be doing an experiment. This is a reading vlog where I'm going to be trying to get out of this reading slump. And I'm taking y'all's advice on the video where I kind of announced that I'm in the worst reading slump of my life. Everyone had a lot of suggestions. Some of them were really, really great. And I'm actually going to take 2 suggestions this week and kind of combine them. So one of them was to read a certain amount every day. And I think if I try to incorporate reading more into my life this week, hopefully I'll finish this. I am halfway through, and I'll hopefully also finish the other book that I'm reading. So I want to make sure that I'm allotting a certain period of time a day to reading. And so hopefully for me this week, it's going to be at least an hour a day. I would like for it to be more than that, but I don't know that that's feasible. But I do really want to finish this. This has been interesting, and I really am interested in it because I have been annotating it, but it is not really a book that I'm compelled to pick back up, if that makes sense. I enjoy it while I'm reading it, but I think I enjoy it while I'm reading it because I'm annotating it and because I'm looking for themes. And so I'm kind of analyzing everything that's going on. But I am reading this because one of my favorite K-pop idols, Suho from EXO, released a mini album based on this. And I've got the album now, the physical album. And it is so fascinating how even some of the photos that they took of him really call back to themes that are in this book. Like there is this imagery of when all of your time is used up, because this book is about time, that when all of your time is used up, you kind of fade away and you become transparent. And in the photo books of Suho's album, there are all of these images where he's kind of cut away, and there's like this white space in the center of the picture where he should be. And I feel like that kind of calls back to this. And there's a lot about the time lilies, which is a concept that's at play in this book. And so it's just really interesting. And it's been helpful to me with this slump because it does feel as though I am actively working on something, if that makes sense. Like this is a project that there is an end goal on, because I initially wanted to make a video essay about this book and Suho's album on my K-pop channel. And now I feel like that would be a lot of work. I said this to myself earlier. I said, Jenny, you can barely edit a regular video. Why would you try a video essay? But I might do it. You never know. And so it kind of feels like there is an end result to this, which is why annotation, I think, really helps me in a reading slump, because it feels like I'm doing something for a purpose. But I'm also taking another piece of advice that y'all gave me, which was to read absolute trash. That was one of the most upvoted comments on the video where I announced that I'm in the worst reading slump ever, was to read trash, to read books that you knew were bad, and to read fan fiction. And so I'm gonna settle in tonight. I'm gonna read some fan fiction. Won't tell you what your fan fiction history is between you and AO3, in my opinion. It's none of my business. And so I'm not gonna tell you what I'll be reading, but hopefully I can find a nice, long, thick to read tonight. But I am reading a book that I'm not gonna call trash, but it is my kind of crack. I realized this yesterday, that I needed something to be a palate cleanser, that I often read a lot of heavy books, and clearly I'm just not in the mood for that this year. I don't need to read stuff that's so heavy. I don't need to be reading more nonfiction. I don't need to be reading a classic. I said to myself last night, I need fae romance. And that's what I picked up. I picked up Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. And this book has made the rounds on YouTube. And as I understand it, it's made the rounds on TikTok. And I understand why. There is something compulsively readable about this book. I am 60% through the first book. And maybe the first book's really short, so I don't want to say, oh wow, I'm out of my slump. But it's really helping me. I won't say that it's the best book I've ever read. I won't say it's the best fae romance I've ever read, because I've read a lot of them. But part of me just always really enjoys a fae romance, good or bad. There's always an element to it that I just really enjoy because I love the fae. And so this one is really interesting because it's done some different things. Our main character is something called a nightmare, and essentially she can make you see your worst fears. But her brother has been missing for a long time and she's been searching for him. So there is more to the book than just romance, which is what I want in a fae romance. I want there to be a plot and the romance to be kind of a side thing. In an ideal world, this book would be a fae love triangle, as that's really my bread and butter. I love a love triangle, love them. They can't be done badly, in my opinion. I love love triangles. And maybe because this is a longer series, maybe it will develop into that. But I am just really enjoying this right now. So I think that was really good advice, to read something that's kind of got a compulsive quality to it. Fan fiction does that, and books that are often labeled as bad also have that quality to them, in my opinion. This book is not bad, and it's not badly written. I've read several self-published fae romances in my day, and this is not a badly written book. In fact, it's very, very well done, in my opinion. I don't know if my opinion will change if I decide to carry on with the series, and maybe I'll feel like the series went on too long, but this really reminds me of the Sookie Stackhouse series in so many ways, which was one of my favorite series as a teenager. I used to love an urban fantasy, and so there's something about this that really reminds me of that, and is also just really, really fun. So you never know, maybe I won't even start on a fan fiction tonight. Maybe I'll just finish this book and hopefully carry on with the series. I will check in with you later. Maybe I'll show you Suho's album. I just think it's so beautiful that I want to show it to everyone. So maybe I'll show you that because I just think it's interesting. I think he really took Momo and he really made it into such a wonderful, wonderful album. Like all of the songs reference time at least once. And also I was watching an interview and he wanted one of the songs to be called Momo, which I think in Korean would actually just mean what, or something something, it seems like. I know maybe 5 words in Korean, and Mo I think is one of them, but I also know kamsamnida, which is thank you. I don't know hello. I cannot wrap my brain around that, but I know oppa and hyung. Of course, you can't be in K-pop and not know those. And then I know bamiya, and I know matgigo sorecho, which I think means let go and scream. Really not useful. I also know redume onmimal, which I'm mispronouncing horribly, which means trust your body. Also not useful. The only words I know were in EXO's Coco Bop. So here is Suho's album. Well, this is one of the versions. And I just think this is the prettier version on the outside. In a K-pop album, you get basically a photo book in every K-pop album if you've never had one before. And so this is really a good example of it. So this is him on the floor in the midst of the time lilies, which is really relevant to Momo. This is one of those things I was talking about, like with him cut out, that I think also calls back to how when you're out of time that you kind of fade, that you become transparent in Momo. So I think there was just a lot of thought put into this. And there are just some really lovely photos in here. But one thing I did want to show y'all is that you do get inclusions in K-pop albums. And so that's often like you get a postcard or something, and sometimes, very rarely I think, but sometimes there are bookmarks. Suho sent a bookmark. It's so cute. It's in kind of the room gradually filling with the time lilies. And then his logo is on the back of the bookmark, which I think is really cute. And I just think it shows that he really knows his audience. So here I am with a Michael's haul that nobody asked for. But I went to Michael's. I went to Michael's for a couple of specific things, actually. I was really on the lookout for a different type of journal. I can show you the journal that I'm using right now. And it's basically almost untenable now because I'm over halfway through it. And so it's really gotten very, very fat with all of the collage work I do. And I've debated on just indulging in getting maybe an Archer and Olive, but I just don't feel like I'm gonna like those. I did a few weeks ago get a notebook from Notebook Therapy, trying to kind of replace this one that I have, as I really like kind of the standard size of maybe a bullet journal, 5x8 or something like that is maybe what it is. And the ones from Notebook Therapy, this is unfortunate, and maybe it's not all of them, but they have a bendable cover. And I'll show you this. Maybe at some point I'll just flip through. I thought I would show you kind of a flip through of what I've been working on, especially this weekend. But I can show you that notebook, and for me, it's just not tenable. I need a hard cover because even when you put something on the page, that one doesn't stay open. In fact, I don't like that notebook, and I regret that I spent money on it. So I went to Michael's hoping to find something that's maybe between the size of the 5x8 and the much larger kind of 8.5x11 sketchbooks that they carry, and I didn't find anything. I also would have taken something that was a little bit smaller because I'm obsessed with this. I've seen this all over Instagram, that a lot of K-pop journalers have this little square notebook. I love it. I love square stuff, but I just think it's really, really cute. And before I went and tried to search and find it from a Korean site, I wanted to see if I could find it here at Michael's, and then I wouldn't have to wait for 2 or 3 months for something to get here. Not that it takes that long from Korea. It does take that long if you order from China. Ask me how I know. So I was just kind of on the hunt for something like that, and I walked out of Michael's with no journal. I also wanted to find some good journaling pens, or at least a nice new black pen that was not a flare, but also was not an Inkjoy, which is what I typically use, and I didn't get that. So I will show you what I did wind up with. I walked out with a whole lot more than what I anticipated and didn't even get what I went there for, but that's life. That's the life of a crafter in particular. Standard craft things first. I got these little cart bins that will clip on the bins from Michael's, kind of those rolling carts. Everyone uses these as a TBR cart, and I have two. I have one that's a TBR cart, and I have a smaller one that I've been using as a craft cart. That is also just untenable to me at this point, and I am going to switch them around and use the smaller cart for my TBR cart and the larger cart for crafting. So I got these to put my pins in so that I can clip them to the side of the cart and I don't have to take up space inside the cart, which I think will be really super nice. I also got this. This is the most exciting thing ever, and I had no clue they made this. I am so pumped about this. This is easily, well, it's not actually the most exciting thing that I found at Michael's, but this is one of the most exciting things that I found at Michael's, and it's a 6-hole punch. And I know you're saying, Jenny, why do I care about this? Well, you should care because you can actually manipulate the hole punches so that it can make at least 6 different sizes of like planner or journal pages. So it can make mini journal pages, A5s. I use an A5 for a lot of my K-pop stuff. I actually use, it is truly an A5 from Japan maybe, or from Korea. I've ordered binders from Korea, and I've noticed that the A5 of Korea is not the A5 of the US of A, because I often struggle to find things that will fit on there, and I think this will really work well for me because I'll be able to adjust the holes to what I want to truly an A5. Here in America, we must use more of the A6 or even like a personal sized planner, because I think often this is even sold as being a planner item, like a planner accessory. So I think that's often what people are using them for here, and not for me. For me, that's where I'm gonna be putting some collages and everything and making title pages for my photo card binders. So I am pumped about this. I'm literally about to open this up and just try it out. I'm just gonna see. So this is really exciting, and I am really thrilled that I found this. I never knew they made this, and I certainly didn't know that Michael's carried it. I also got 2 things of washi tape. I thought when I went in that I might look at their washi tape section because I'm running low on a couple of things. And I was really excited to find 2 things that I wanted, didn't even know that I wanted. So one of them is just this little collection of floral washi tapes because I do need some different colored florals, and specifically my favorite washi tape is a yellow floral washi tape. And I'm at the end. I am at the end of it. And so I was looking for something that also had some yellow in it, and this big one does. And I love different sized washi tapes, so it's nice that this one had a couple of thin ones, the regular sized washi tapes, and then a couple of thicker ones. This is my least favorite. I'm just not gonna do much with this. I'm very much a pastel person, and it's hard because a lot of stuff that I've been doing lately, especially in K-pop, they use like very bright, like neon colors. Not my vibe. So I try to force them into the pastel range. But that was really exciting. But more exciting than that actually is something that I will really use, and that's these grid ones. And I ordered some grid washi tape from AliExpress at the beginning of the year. And it was so thin, like just the sheer amount of washi tape that was on the roll. So thin. This is at least twice the amount, and I think in general for the price, it was actually the better deal. I think we often get on AliExpress and we're like, oh wow, we're getting a big massive deal. And sometimes you are, sometimes you really are, but other times you're not. And so I was just pumped about this because I use a black and a white grid all the time, but the brown is gonna be particularly useful to me. So this is one that I'm really excited about. I was really thrilled about this. I love washi tapes. The greatest find of the day is something that I have wanted for a very long time, and I just don't even know how to explain it to you. I'm just gonna show it to you. It's this head. And it's a vase. I love it so much. I have had my eye on things like this for a long time, for literal years. I remember, I think I first saw this in 2019 and I was in Italy, and I almost bought one that was a Dante head, and I just didn't know how I could carry it home, if it would break, and like the weight of it, they're very, very heavy. It just wasn't feasible for me. So I didn't get it then, but I've thought about it ever since, and I'm happy with this. I really did want somebody like Dante or Shakespeare or Shelley, but I really like this lady. She's giving me a very Grecian vibe. She has her laurel wreath on. I love it. And she's also very, very deep. So it's just the perfect vase. And I'm going to put my Suho albums in a basket that I have upstairs. I have a little corner of my room that's very empty now that the holidays are over, and I had something there all throughout the fall and Christmas season last year, and now it just feels like a very barren and blank space. And so my Suho albums, I think I showed you one of the other day, I'm gonna put them in this kind of cloth bound basket. I don't even know how to describe it, but I'm gonna tie them together and kind of put like a little sprig of greenery, sit them in this basket. And then I wanted to have her there. Possibly she'll have to sit on some books because everything in my room is white. And that's one thing that I love. The Suho albums are just absolutely stunning, and they're very floral, but they also have a good pop of color, which is what I think I need in that area. So I did get some greenery and some florals to put in her head. So this is what I really got. It's just gonna look amazing. I mean, it's really gonna look good. And I'll take you through that as I do it. Their florals were 50% off, so I thought it was a good opportunity to get this, but this is gonna look so pretty. And I also got a little bit of yellow to put in with this. So I got a little bit of yellow to put in with this because the Suho albums have yellow in them. And I just think that's gonna be really nice and pretty for the summertime. I love those Suho albums, so I just really wanted to display them somewhere because they were in kind of a book shape. And yellow is one of my colors, but I don't typically like real yellow. I like yellow that's maybe almost the color of cake batter or butter. Something that's not really in your face, school bus yellow, that's not really my vibe. This is toned down by this, I think, a little bit, and I just think it's gonna look super pretty. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to do that. So that might be my next project, and I'm looking forward to that. But I just thought I would share my Michaels haul with you. I will check in with you later. So as promised, here is my current, well, I say my current, but it's actually one of many K-pop journals. And here's how fat it is. And I know you think from this, I'm like 75% of the way through this, and I actually am not. That's almost half the journal left. But I think you can see what my issue is. It's just getting very hard to keep this one closed. And it does have this, so I put that on there, but you'll see some of the issues that I have with it. So here's my major issue. This has already come apart, so this back section falls flat. And then it really wants to go to certain pages. Like, I don't know why it wants to go to this, but I'm fine with this. It's sugar. But some pages, like when you put paper on them, I would think that would make them weight down a little bit. It just does not. It just does not. And so some places, like this is paper that apparently is very thick and it really wants to go there. Not sure why. But other times I use paper, it's like not interested in it. So we'll see. Like, I really don't know why we're going here. Again, I don't mind it. Suga and Suho, big biases of mine. This is my current spread, if you're curious. I'm learning a new group. So I'm gonna make profiles. So I put all their pictures here so I can write their names, their positions in the group, learn who everybody is. And I've already done that up here. I've put the leader, vocals, dancer, all of that, which I really like. This is ONEUS. If you're looking for a K-pop recommendation from me, check them out. I will link to this music video down below because I watched the first 10 seconds of it on Sunday night. It is now Wednesday, and I am now a major ONEUS fan. The first 10 seconds had me in the chokehold. I said, wow, I could not believe it. Like, this is truly an aesthetic, first of all. Second of all, it's just raw talent. I mean, like, this is style. This is panache. Like, look what they have on. It's amazing. Anyways, this is my current spread, so I'm gonna work on that tonight. But actually right now, the journal wants to stay open. So I just don't want to abandon it because I have so much left in it. By contrast, here is the notebook that I got from Notebook Therapy, and look at it on here. It's smaller by just a tiny margin, but it's enough to make me irritated. It would be one thing if it was just, let's say, a small journal. This is still somewhat standard size, but it's off just enough to confuse me, and you'll see my issue with it when I get this one out of the way. But here we go. It's a soft cover. Now, this is user error. I'm not gonna blame this on Notebook Therapy because I definitely could have read that somewhere. I mean, I am really fighting it. And I have these clips that I use to kind of keep my journal open on my desk, and even they don't really work with this. My only hope is that the further I get into this journal, the more bulk it has, the more it will willingly open up. But right now, I really genuinely don't like this journal, and in fact, I almost would say that I hate it. So this is not really a judgment on Notebook Therapy because I do think this is user error. I probably could have read the dimensions and from that figured out that this was a much smaller journal, and I probably also could have figured out that it was soft cover, but this is one of their cheaper options, and yet it was still kind of expensive compared to the one that I have, which is the cheapest like bullet journal that they have at Michael's. They used to be $5. I think now they're $7, so they're no longer even what I would call cheap. But y'all will be super proud of me. I decided to make a spread with the washi tape that I didn't like, and it's turned out really well. This I know says it's from 2019. This is an EXO journal, but I'm using it for only when they're in space. So let's see here, where is that at? This is a Chanyeol book, basically, if you know who Chanyeol is. Like, look how cute he is. It's so cute. But, you know, once again, there he is. He's haunting me. But here we go. I only used it in one spot. That's okay. Actually, two. Okay. But it really forced me out of my comfort zone. It made me use some stuff that I wouldn't normally use, and so good for me. I'm glad I got out of my comfort zone. Not everything has to be flowered, I know, but I desperately want it to be. But so that's the journal situation. Good morning. It's like 7:15 or 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday morning. I think the last time I even spoke to you about a reading update was actually Monday, even though I think I updated yesterday and the day before that I went to Michael's, and I told you about crafting stuff, but I haven't given a reading update. Well, there was no need for me to have gone and try to find a fan fiction, even though I did find one and it was really good. But I have finished Fortuna Sworn, and I have already started the second book, and I'm almost halfway through it. And I think the second book is a little bit longer than the first, maybe a lot longer than the first for all I know. And I'm just feeling really good about it. It's not as if it's the best book that I've ever read, you know, but there's something very compulsive about it. And there was this big reveal at the end of the first book that wasn't even really a mystery. It wasn't even something I'd been wondering about for the rest of the book, but when they revealed it, I was really shocked. Like, things happened that I didn't see coming. And so I see why this one has been talked up. I see why people have really taken to this. Is it the best fae romance I've ever read? Probably not, because to me the romance element of it has been not all that great. But I do think I'm about to get my wish, and I think it's about to become a love triangle. And there was already semi-love triangle in the first book, but I think this will be more interesting here in the second one. So I'm really pumped. So I wanted to go on and wrap the vlog up, even though a whole lot of reading doesn't seem to have gotten done in this vlog. A lot of reading got done when I wasn't on camera. And so I know one of the goals of the week, I was kind of putting some things to the test, experimenting with some suggestions that y'all gave me. And one of them was to read a certain amount of pages per day. And I don't think that happened. Reading every day this week did not happen for me, but I don't feel bad about that, because even though I may not have read every day, the times that I did read, I read quite a bit. Like, I read a large volume of pages on the times that I did read. So not reading every day, that's really okay by me. And I also got on TikTok this week. And so the fact that I read it all seems like an absolute miracle to me. I didn't get on TikTok for bookish reasons, and from what I've seen, book talk is really not for me. I don't think it's not that it's not user-friendly. I think you can find what you're looking for. I just think it's interesting that what's popular on book talk is stuff that was popular on BookTube years and years ago. And so that's fascinating in its own way. Just book talk as a phenomena is very fascinating to me, but the crafting on TikTok is out of this world. It is insane. And I really resisted TikTok because, you know, I'm a millennial. We had Vine. And if it cannot be conveyed to me in Vine compilations, it's really not important. So I've been resistant to TikTok because I feel like TikTok is like Gen Z's version of Vine, but actually TikTok is very useful. And I just feel like, wow, my eyes have been opened. And so I've spent some time on there this week. It's been really great. It's given me some new ideas, but I've also spent a lot of the time reading. So one part of this experiment was a failure, I guess, in some way. I didn't read every day. Again, I don't feel bad about that because I finished one book. I'm over halfway through another, and Momo I have made very good progress on, and I don't want to say that I'm going to finish that today, but I'm very, very close to the end. And so I feel like Momo is a success. I can almost count Momo as a finished book. So that part of the challenge I do think was really helpful to me, but ultimately the most helpful part of this was to really read something that I couldn't put down, a true page turner. And I think it's hard to predict that when you're looking for a book to pick up. I think it's very difficult to tell what type of book is really going to be engaging to you if you've not already read a book in the series. And so really Fortuna Sworn was kind of taking a chance a little bit for me. I had the sense I might like it, but I really have truly loved the reading experience of it. But it's funny that I really enjoyed reading it, but I don't really necessarily feel attached to anybody. I do have my favorite characters. I do have my hopes kind of with the romance. I think it's interesting that this is labeled as kind of a fantasy romance when really the large majority of the series thus far, and the first book and the second book, has not really been about the romance at all. In fact, I think the romance has been the most poorly done aspect of the series. So I don't feel any tension between what I would call the main couple. I don't really feel invested in whether or not they decide to get together. But now that there has been kind of a love triangle element introduced, I'm far more interested in it. After I finish the second book, I think I'll step away from the series just for a little bit so that I don't get burned out on it. Sometimes I feel like when I read series that I stay in the world too long, and I often don't really like reading series anymore because of that. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time with the same people over and over and over again, and so I take breaks between books and series, which then leads to me never finishing a series at all. And so while I have the momentum up, I do really want to finish the books that are out for this, but I also want to make sure that I read some other things, because I'm actually in a reading mood right now, and that feels very, very good when I don't know that I've really been in a reading mood for the past, well, I'm going to say the past few months. I think it's gone up and down for me. Like in March, I had a really good second wind. I was really invested in reading. I was really interested in the books that I was picking up. In April, I read, but I didn't really enjoy anything. And so I'm hoping that May can kind of turn it around. And thus far, the first week of May is now over. I'm feeling really good about the books that I have chosen to pick up so far this month. And I'm really excited about reading a new series. I think that was the best advice ever. I really, truly do. Was just to read something that was really fun and quick. And it's not really something that takes a lot out of you. And when I look back at my reading life over the past couple of years, that's a lot of what I've been reading. I have been reading a lot of books that do take a lot out of you or ask a lot of you as the reader. And I really have liked this kind of very refreshing palate cleanser week. I've read fan fiction, which I have just truly loved. I haven't read fan fiction in so long, like a long form fan fiction I haven't read in years. I decided to do that this week, kind of in conjunction with that challenge, and it was fabulous. But actually, now that I think about that, I did read something every day this week because I did read fic. So that was a success. This whole reading vlog has been a very good success to me, but I was moving so quickly through things that I didn't really update y'all, which is unfortunate and makes me feel like this wasn't a very successful reading vlog. But I decided to stand here because I think I'm going to film another video, first of all. But second of all, this is my area where my head is going to go. These are my Suho albums. This is my Suho poster. And I want to tell y'all a really strange story about this, okay? So they often will send you a poster with K-pop albums. I'm not a poster girl. And I often tell them, just don't send that to me because I don't want it. Give it to somebody who wants it, who likes posters. This is, though, such a beautiful, beautiful poster that I am going to put it up right here for as long as I can stand it, because this faces the door. It's very creepy to see somebody standing here. But so this was shipped in a tube separate from the albums, which I think makes sense. So this came before my albums did. I go outside to get it, and the mailman, who I will say, I don't think this was my regular mailman because he would never have done anything like this. It had actually been raining, so I went outside to just make sure that I picked up the package thinking it was the albums, and I didn't want them to get damaged in the rain. I see the tube sitting outside, and I'm like, oh, it was the poster, which I told them not to send me. And so I'm worried about that. When I walk up to it, this is sitting on top of all of the other mail. I'm talking letters are sitting on the literal ground underneath a poster tube. It's raining. And they sat letters on the ground. I mean, I had to laugh. I started laughing as soon as I saw it because I thought, now what went through your head? What was going on up there? But anyways, so that's just my funny story about how I received this poster. That was not my regular mailman, who I love to death and I think is a saint. He puts up with a lot for me. So I'm gonna hang this here. I feel very cool. I feel like I have a nice like teaching wand. So I'm gonna put this here. here's my basket with my Suho albums, which you cannot see. So I do have like a wire basket, and maybe I'll switch to that. But I could also put something in the bottom of this basket. I got this basket at Target. It was in like their dollar spot for $3 or $5, I think. And so I just couldn't resist it. But here are my Suho albums. And I want to tie them together with twine, put a piece of greenery on them. I think this is so beautiful. This is the other version of Gray Suit. This next one, though, this is his most beautiful album. And this is about Van Gogh. Isn't it beautiful? I'm tempted to put that on the front, but now I've decided to kind of go with a yellow theme. So this is his current album anyway. So I think I'll put this together, tie this together, put a little piece of greenery or a little piece of maybe like that yellow flower, put something in the base of this basket to lift them up just a little bit. And then my head can sit over here, and I might move this jar, this vase. I don't know. I'm just gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna vibe. So that's really what's going on in terms of projects. But I'm really gonna call that a very successful week of reading. And I'm hoping that a series like Fortuna Sworn will encourage me to go back to the heavier books that I like to read on occasion, because I just feel weird that this whole year I haven't really been reading classics. And so I do feel very strange about that, which is not odd. You know, when I look back at my reading life prior to BookTube, I almost never read classics. It was only when I got on BookTube and I thought that was content that people were interested in. And so I made myself read a classic every month, which is not really a bad goal, especially when you wanted to get back into them after getting out of school, which was kind of how I felt. But so for the past, I guess, almost 5 years, I think I've had my channel almost 5 years. For that amount of time, classics have made up a large bulk of what I've read. And so I think I feel guilty about it. And I'm not gonna allow myself to feel guilty about it. I'm just gonna read what I wanna read and enjoy what I wanna enjoy. And so I'm really enjoying what I'm picking up right now. And I've had a very successful reading week, in my opinion. But I'm gonna wrap up the vlog here. I would love to know down below what you do to get out of a slump. Is reading so-called trash something that helps you? Do you like to read lighter books? And if you are a crafter, let me know what you're up to. What have you been getting recently at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or any of your local craft stores? I would love to hear it. But that's going to be all from me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Goodbye.